Welcome to another episode of Toot Your Own Horn Music Matters. I am here with the wonderful Susan Wells. Hello, Susan.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you. And our audience, as always, is eager to hear your story. So tell us, where does it begin? How did you choose your instrument?
Well, I have to tell you, Lisa, when you first asked me to be on this podcast, I thought of the title, Toot Your Own Horn. And I kind of thought to myself, that's kind of not who I am in particular. But then I realized also my story's not quite so normal either.
Oh.
How I came to the clarinet, my dad had been a drummer, and he and his brother had a jazz band. They were very successful. So that was kind of my background. His mom had been a organist at a church and taught piano lessons and choir director. So there was music in my family. I grew up in New Jersey, and when we got to fifth grade, you could pick an instrument to play. And honestly, I don't remember like going to a class and trying out instruments. It almost seemed like back then, if you were a girl, you could play the clarinet or the flute.
Right.
That's kind of what I remember.
Right.
And so I feel like my story is really not that inspiring because it's not. I wish I could say I heard a great clarinetist and decided that's it. I'm going to do this the rest of my life.
And that is how most stories go. And that's one of the reasons why I love these stories, because everybody's story is unique, but some of them are very particularly, like I pointed to that one on the wall. I play that.
I think, yes. Well, yes, you're very true. But at first I kind of thought, oh, no one wants to hear this. But anyway, it started because my next door neighbor, her name was Jane Griffin, was amazing. She was a year older than I am. And she was like really pretty, and she was very nice. She was a cheerleader, and she played the clarinet. So, life goals when you're in fifth grade, I thought, geez, if I played the clarinet, I could be like Jane Griffin. So when it came time for school to start, my dad had decided that instead of renting a clarinet, he just went out and bought me a clarinet.
Oh, wow.
And so at the time, the clarinet he bought me was from the Sears Roebuck catalog. And so I go to school, and everybody else in my clarinet group had rented a clarinet, probably a Bundy or a Vito.
Yeah.
I didn't realize at the time, but I was on a wood clarinet.
Oh.
Sears Roebuck. And everybody else playing on the Bundy and Vito were able to get great sound out right away. I could not get a sound out of my clarinet.
Now, was your clarinet literally a Sears and Roebuck clarinet?
Yes.
It literally was.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I think it had that kit on it. It was a wood clarinet. And honestly, for like the first 5 months, I could not get a single sound out of that clarinet.
What kept you trying?
I don't know. I think I'm just terribly stubborn about things. Because obviously I don't think I was passionate about the clarinet if I couldn't get a sound out. But the other thing that was kind of weird at the time, what I remember being in fifth grade, is our band teacher at the time. His name was Mr. Lifshitz, which is really not a great name to have when you're dealing with immature fifth graders. And I think we caused him to have a nervous breakdown because I vaguely remember our classes, we'd get pulled out once a week from our regular class and go to the gym. They'd wheel a piano in. And Mr. Lifshitz, I think we antagonized him terribly. We must have all sounded terrible. Well, they all did. I couldn't get a sound out, so it wasn't necessarily me. But he would get so frustrated, he'd have to leave us and go get a cup of coffee. And be like, when I come back, you all better be able to play this. So, of course, being in fifth grade, we didn't really. We just kind of like goofed off.
Wow.
Someone would guard the door, then he would come back down the hallway. And then we'd be all like, oh, yes, we
practiced.
He didn't pay any attention to me, of course. But so that kind of went on for like 5 months. I just could not get a sound out of that clarinet. And at the end of the year, I think he told my mom that I should probably stop attempting to play the clarinet because obviously this was not cut out for me.
Huh.
Lisa, I don't know what happened. I think like over the summer, all of a sudden, the sound started coming out.
But you kept trying. Goodness gracious. Where did you get that stubbornness from?
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing is that I didn't realize it at the time, but because I was playing on wood,
Mm-hmm.
I had to work 10 times harder than everybody else in class because they just were able to get sound right away. So now I look back and I'm so grateful I had that Sears Roebuck clarinet, because I developed a really good sound because I had to work so hard from the beginning.
Yeah. And did he buy you a mouthpiece, or did it just come with a mouth?
I think it came with a mouth. I think this was like a one in all, like, I remember it had a really cool, like, alligator case, like the outside.
I wonder who made that instrument for them. That's really interesting.
I think they did. I mean, even now people like Sears Roebuck, they had a catalog. It's like
Yeah.
very long time ago.
So you started getting a sound over the summer, and then what?
Of course I was ecstatic, and I guess it never occurred to me to stop playing. So then things just kind of progressed, and the band program, I grew up in New Jersey. I lived outside of New York City, and it was just a fabulous, I think it was a given back then that just about everybody, you would be in the band. You'd pick an instrument. It wasn't like, it wasn't like a choice. It was just kind of like, yes, this is like it's an honor to be in bands. And in middle school, I had a really great band teacher. And
With a better name, I hope.
yes. Well, I kept playing my Sears Roebuck catalog clarinet into high school. And my high school band was exceptional. We had a great band director named Donald Mars. He was tough, but you had nothing but respect for him. He really was great. And I played on that clarinet to the end of freshman year. And I remember one time he had a clinician come in, and he pulled me out of class, and I was in his office, and he said to the clinician, "I want you to hear her play a couple of notes on her clarinet." And then he laughed and he said, "She's playing on a Sears Roebuck clarinet, and she gets a better sound than the kids on buffets." So again, it was all because I learned at an early age to put a lot of air through the clarinet.
And then what? So you're playing through high school, you're digging it, it's something you keep doing. Was it expected because your family was musical that you played?
No, not really. My dad was a clinical psychologist. So I think when I was like a sophomore or junior, I started really enjoying music. I thought, and of course, because the band was so fabulous. It was, and when I was a freshman, I was last chair, but it was such an honor to be a freshman to be in this band, so that was great. But my dad had found out about a school in New Jersey that was for autistic children, a very specialized school, and they had a music therapist. So he arranged for me to go spend a day at this special school with a music therapist. And I thought, that's it. I can have my music and do something really meaningful that's important. And I just didn't think I was that great on clarinet, but I could still do something music-wise. So I ended up getting my degree in music therapy because of that experience.
Beautiful degree.
Yeah. And of course, back then, there weren't many schools that offered that program. It was still, I think it was getting more respected, but still not to the level that it is today, I don't think. People are more understanding of it. So I went and got my degree, but even during college, I started doing more chamber music. And I remember my senior recital, I ended up playing at the Mozart Trio No. 7 in E flat and the Poulenc Sonata for 2 clarinets, and I did a concerto. And I realized on stage, Lisa, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep performing. But then I had to do a 6-month internship after graduating, and I went to Buffalo. I did my 6-month internship. I met my husband and got married in a few years. I worked for 2 years as a music therapist, and it was great. It was rewarding, interesting, but I never used my clarinet.
Why is that?
Because I think it's more viable to use guitar or piano because it's easier to communicate, especially with guitar.
I understand.
And so I got married, we have 4 children. So my career was really put on hold for quite a while. And then I was able to start playing again.
And so you stopped playing when your kids were growing up. And then what, I mean, it makes total sense. Life gets really busy. You've got babies, the clarinet goes to the wayside. But how does it come back out? How did it make its return?
Well, it was kind of interesting. I met a friend of mine from college got married to this girl, Susan, and her mother was a great pianist in Buffalo. I didn't grow up in Buffalo, so I didn't know many people when I went to do my internship there. And
Where did you do your internship?
at Buffalo Psychiatric Center,
Awesome.
which is how I ended up. And then I ended up getting a job. I was one of the few people in my graduating class at that time who got a job in music therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even interesting, Lisa, because I think I have so many weird stories. I don't do anything in the normal path, I don't think. But I got my first job. I had an interview scheduled at the 𝐓𝐨𝐽 Psychiatric Center, which was an hour outside of Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And so the particular day was in January. There was a huge blizzard.
Mm.
And I'm the type of person, if I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'll be there. So a friend drove me and we had whiteouts. And I was like 15 minutes late for the interview. And the people looked at me and they said, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry I'm late. I have an interview." And I think because of that blizzard, I got a job.
Oh, that's
I was like, I can't believe you came here.
I subbed with the Buffalo Philharmonic off and on for a few years, and I can't tell you how many times I flew there and it was like blizzard weather. Buffalo has a lot of snow.
But you're in Chicago. You
I am. I used to fly there to play as a sub, and it's just every time I went, there was always some weather issue. So
it's really beautiful in the summer and the fall.
yeah.
But anyway, so I worked there for a year. Then I worked at Buffalo Psych Center. Went back there for a year. And so my friend Michael, his mother-in-law was this great pianist in the area, and he told her about me. And I remember meeting her, and she was like, "Why aren't you performing? Michael told me about you." And I did get asked to do a recital many years later, a solo recital. And I just had my fourth child, who was 6 months old, and I thought, there's no way.
Yeah.
And I called, her name was 𝐓𝐴_𝐵𝐷, and I said, "I just got asked to do a recital, and there's no way I can do this." And she's like, "Why?" "No, you need to do this. You have 4 months. What do you mean you can't do this? You need to start practicing and get ready." And that was the start of it, Lisa. It was a great experience, and I performed with 𝐓𝐴_𝐵𝐷.
So it was
It kind of went on from there.
that's awesome.
Yeah, my path has just been kind of different, but we all have a different path to how we get to where we need to be, and connections along the way.
So are you still playing?
Yes. Not all the time. I moved to Virginia about 17 years ago, and it was challenging also moving to a smaller city after all that time. It really took a while to get established. But I've done things, and I'm teaching at an Interharmony International Music Festival in Italy. So I'll probably perform there this summer as well.
Oh, that's great. Tell our listeners about the festival.
The listeners for the
Yeah,
festival?
tell our listeners about the festival where you
Well, it's in Acqui Terme, Italy, and it's in the month of July. There's 2 sessions, and it's just fabulous. This year I'll be going with my 4th student from this area. And it's just really great. It's intensive lessons, and the students all get to perform chamber music and meet people from around the world. It's very supportive environment, music every night, and it's in Italy, which is a whole nother greatness.
Great.
It's a great experience.
Yeah. So what clarinet are you playing on these days?
I have a buffet clarinet, and I have my original that I got. So after my Sears Roebuck, I got a 𝐓𝐿MR when I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And then after my freshman year in college, I went with my dad into New York City. I think we went to Manny's. You know Manny's? I don't even know if they're still there. There used to be, and I can't think of the name of the street, but there were like 3 major music stores on this particular block. And so my dad and I went. I spent about 3 hours there and tried about 6 clarinets. And this one was just everything. Like, it just stood out. So I still play on that quite a bit. It's still a great sound.
Do you ever play for your family? Or is it something you do for yourself or for others?
Yeah, for others in concerts. I mean, they hear me because I practice. And
anyone else in your family musical?
Well, my kids all are, but they have gone on to do other things.
Mhm.
My daughters, when they, I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And my daughter Ashley played the violin and piano. She's got a magnificent ear. I really wish I had her ear. She can sit down and just play the piano. And then my youngest daughter plays the cello, and Matt played the clarinet, and Jordan played saxophone. But when my girls were younger, they used to perform with me in little recitals. I'd go out and ask to do things. I would have them do a piece with me.
That's fun.
It was fun, but I think for them sometimes it was like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, really? Like, you owe me big time for doing." But now that they're adults and they're so busy in their own careers, they don't have time to play.
Yeah, I understand. Well, and that's, I think, one of the challenges, isn't it? Is that it's something that's really kind of pops into our life and we participate, and then life takes us in different directions, and then we don't know how to re-engage or how to find room for it. But it's just so good for you, which
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I've had so many, like, like you said, life gets in the way, or you get busy doing something else. Also, when I had started performing again, I had met Richard Stoltzman,
Mhm.
and I was at New England Conservatory of Music for their first clarinet summit.
Mhm.
So that he did with Cal Opperman,
Mm,
and so
lucky you.
I was very lucky, and I was lucky I went to study with Cal Opperman
Mm.
in New York City, and
I would have liked to have studied with him. I've heard nothing but great things.
he was really, really great. And one of the reasons why I stopped, I always remember the last time I called him to set up a lesson, he was like, "When are you gonna get serious about this? You need to be in New York. You need to come, and, what are you and I gonna do in 4 or 5 hours? If you think you can get something from me in 4 or 5 hours." And he was so, like, and I was kind of intimidated by that, and I thought, "Oh," and I never had another lesson with him again
Aw.
because of that. Sort of, and of course the kids were older, and it was busy, and I saw Dick Stoltzman last summer, and I told him about it, and I said, I always kind of thought, I thought he was mad at me. I thought Cal was mad that I wasn't making the necessary sacrifices to
Mhm.
do this, and that was just Cal. He wasn't mad at you, he's just wanting the best for you,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I think that's the music community in general. So that's one for sure thing. People will try to help each other move forward
Yes.
in an education environment. I think you get that that
Yes, that's such a great thing. Yes.
it indeed is. If somebody was listening to our conversation and just was like, "Wow, that's a really cool story," what would you tell them to participate and to think about playing a wind instrument? What should they do?
Well, actually, I tell my students all the time, the clarinet, of course, is the greatest instrument in the band and orchestra, because to me, I mean, the incredible range of notes that we have, like most instruments don't, and the dynamics, and just the colors we can get from the clarinet. It could be the most beautiful sound you've ever heard, or like,
Or piercing if it needs.
or yes, or piercing. I remember one time I had a student, and he was very young, and I went through this whole spiel about how great the clarinet is, and I said, to me, like, I love the flute. The flute's a really great instrument, but to me, it's always just beautiful. It's always the same beautifulness. And I said, but don't tell anybody that I told you this. I said, you don't know any flute players, do you? And he's like, no, no. His mother comes in at the end of the lesson. He was a beginner, and she said, did he tell you that sometimes we do duets together? And I was like, oh, no, he never mentioned that. She goes, well, I play the flute. And I look at here, I just gave him this little spiel about how clarinet's so much better than the flute. But the clarinet, to me, it's just so great. It's such a wonderful instrument. And it's something you can always have all your life, even if you don't. I've got some students now that are thinking, I don't want to major in music. They want to do medicine or other things like that. But it's like, you're always going to have this, that you can come back to.
Exactly. And
it's such a great thing.
it is. And it's something you can always will help you feel better about yourself.
Yes. Yes.
It has that ability to do that. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Susan, I really appreciate you doing this with me.